people at home don't know who you are, and they want to know who you are because they hear about you all the time. So, what's your name, sir?
DEWAYNE Sessions.
Are you the first DEWAYNE Sessions?
Actually, I am senior. I have a grandson, which is the third, and my son is a junior.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where were you born?
Born and raised in Texas.
And were you a single child, or?
Oh no, I come from a very, very large family. Family of 14, 12 boys and 2 girls. And my position in the family is I'm third from the youngest.
Third from the youngest.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about your life.
Oh, well, man, you know, well, you can just imagine growing up with such a large family, you know, coming from Texas. You know, that required a bunch of sharecropping, you know. So, you know, I did a bunch of planting and growing our own vegetables and things like that. We raised chickens and pigs, you know. So, you know, but it was a good life. It was a hard life, but it was a good life. But I just couldn't wait to graduate high school so I could get out of there. You know, it's just, you know, I guess I had my fill from the time I was old enough to walk and started plowing and picking crop until I joined the service. So,
wow.
yeah.
So, you were already working out in the field as soon as, what, 4 years old or 3 years
I would
old?
probably say about 5 or 6. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, everybody, you know, back there, growing up like that, everyone had to carry their weight, you know. So whether you were cutting firewood, drawing water from the well, or plowing in the field, you know, or picking crop, you know, everybody had to carry their own weight. So, you know, that's probably why I have the work ethic I have today, because started at a young age and watching how my father worked 6 and 7 days a week for as long as I can remember. My mom was, for the short time I was with her, you know, she passed when I was 9. But mom was, you know, just like, I mean, what can I say? A mom is a mom, you know. And, you know, my father, after my mom passed, he remarried. And with his second wife, my stepmom, I think they were together before she passed. They were together almost 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and my father worked at the same company for 55 years.
That's like unheard of anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And he would have done more years had they allowed him to come back. He retired, traveled for about 3 months, and came back to work and said, "Hey, I don't like retirement." And they told him, "Mr. Sessions, you're retired. You can't come back." You know. I mean, that's all he knew, just work. So.
And that wasn't his only job, right? What else?
No, he was a minister. You know, he had a twin brother that passed when he was, I think 17 or 19. And at that time, that's when he got his calling to the ministry. And he was a minister and pastored his churches until he passed in 2005.
Wow. And how old was he when he passed?
Yeah, he was 85.
85. Wow. Still preaching.
Still preaching.
Wow.
Yeah. 2 uncles that were also ministers, you know. And but they had their own little singing group.
Oh, okay.
They were called the Golden Sunbeams, and out of all the boys, as far as my father and his siblings, my uncle Julius is the only one still alive. And I've always felt that he was the best singer out of all of them, but people tell me my dad was. My dad was good, but I thought he was actually the third best.
Okay.
Out of the group. I thought it was Uncle Julius, and then Uncle Robert, then my dad.
And what songs did they sing?
Oh man, they sang it. Woo! They had a couple of hits back in the day.
Really?
You know? Yeah. We have to look them up sometime. You know, the Golden Sunbeams.
Okay.
You know.
So you're surrounded with musical talent now. I mean, and then so you went to the service. And then you got married, and then there's music on your wife's side too, right?
Oh yeah. You know, she's Gladys Knight is her first cousin, and her father, James Wood, God rest his soul, he's the one that actually got Gladys started. He started the group, and ended up being Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Oh, wow.
So after they got started in 1952, and she's still going strong today. You know, a lot of her siblings have gone on, but I think she only has her brother Bubba. Bubba is the only one, which you saw at the funeral with Gladys. But yeah, very talented group.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
do you think that kids are getting more talented as time goes on and progressing? You know.
Well, as far as music, I actually feel that the youth of today is actually underachieving, you know, because if you notice, the majority of the beats and the songs that they come up with, they're still using beats from back in the days.
Yeah, borrowing.
You know? Yes, and when you had people in the 50s and 60s making music, I mean, yeah, that was music.
Yeah. And we're still using those songs.
Yes,
Yeah.
still. The things that they have at their disposal, I mean, wow. You know, you can take a keyboard, man, and you can pretty much make anything, any sounds and beats you want.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think it's all about applying yourself. You know, you have those. I mean, you got some people that can go to a studio at 5, 6 in the morning and be there until 9, 10 at night.
Yeah.
You know, those are the type people there that are far and in between right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I heard Gladys say something like that at the funeral, that she tries to get the newer generation to commit to practicing at least 8 hours a day. And they're done in an hour, you know, they don't want to practice no more. Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's what I was talking about, you know, as far as the commitment. They had routines, dance routines for their entire list of songs. And it's not the same. And it was just second nature. They could do a second nature, you know. I remember the first concert, you know, when I first saw Gladys, them, I was really impressed. I said, man, they danced the entire time, singing, dancing, and it was never the same routine. That was what I was so impressed by.
So we got on a tangent on music, but I don't want to skip over some of the sports that you like to play. So you saw a lot of your brothers that had talent, and they did all kinds of different things. So what were some of the things that you got into as you were growing up?
Well, I had 4 of my older brothers that played semi-pro baseball.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, you always want to imitate or emulate your older siblings, you know. And the one that used to really catch my eye, even though Bill played third base, and, you know, he was a really, really good third baseman. But Paul was a catcher. I mean, you know, there's not a lot of glamour in being a catcher, but that was who I used to, you know, marvel my game after. Even though I pitched and played shortstop coming up, but Paul was the one because he was the best hitter. You know, but as much as I like baseball, you know, I play basketball, football, track and field, you know. So it was, did a little everything. But once I was getting ready to graduate, you know, my coaches always told me, said, you know, my nickname was Bull. They said, Bull, you're going to be a late developer, you know. So there wasn't a lot of colleges really looking at me at the time when I was getting ready to graduate. I would say maybe Division I, maybe 3 or 4, but I had a lot of junior colleges. But once I joined the service is when I really came into my own, and at that point I had a lot of opportunities.
Okay.
And I had opportunity to play pro ball, single A for the Rangers, you know, and they offered me $18,000. That was a contract they offered me. That was a lot of money.
Okay, I was going to say.
That was a lot of money, you know. And a lot of people, you know, said, $18,000? No, $18,000 is good for a 16-year-old, you know, in the 70s. So that was good.
But you shocked everybody, and you didn't take it. What happened?
Well, you know, my father, you know, like I said, being the breadwinner, and also a man of God. So, you know, he said, son, I know that's always been a goal of yours to play professional sports. He said, but what if you have an injury? He said, what skills do you have to fall back on? And, you know, I didn't want to hear that.
No.
But, you know, I thought about it, and I thought about it. And I had already taken the ASVAB test for the military. So I had a choice of the Air Force or the Marines. And, of course, you got to go to the baddest one.
The Air Force. No, I'm just kidding.
which is Marines.
Okay.
So I chose Marines, and I already knew what my MOS. So I was going to be electrical equipment repairman. So it wasn't that I was going in blind and going to be in the infantry or anything like that. Because no, I wouldn't have any of that. And then I had a guaranteed pay grade once I got out of boot camp or basic. So that was it had a lot of incentives. You know, I moved up relatively quick throughout the ranks.
And how long did you serve?
I did 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Man.
I would have done 20 had they given me my duty station, but they couldn't accommodate me, so I couldn't accommodate them. You know.
So where did they take you? I mean, you were in Texas, and then...
Yeah, I went to basic in San Diego.
Okay.
I went to school in North Carolina, Courthouse Bay. Once I finished my year of schooling, which was 5 days a week, 8 to 9 hours a day for a year, then I was at French Creek. From there, I did my first tour in Okinawa, Japan. I was stationed at Camp Hansen. I was with 3rd Combat Engineers, and that was a real fun tour. My first tour. That was a real fun tour. You know, I got to go on floats, or what we call floats, or operations where we go to different places.
Okay.
So I went to Tenia, Saipan, Guam, North Korea, DMZ, between North and South Korea. I've been to the Philippines, you know, and I've been to Canada, and all different states, man. Because when I was in school, I used to go with a lot of my friends back to their hometown, DC, New York, Virginia, Georgia, so I did a lot of traveling. And once my year was up, I came to California. I had all intentions of going back to the East Coast, because when I was in North and South Korea, I had all my wardrobe was tailored for the East Coast, for the cold weather. And then they sent me to sunny California. Lord Jesus.
Couldn't wear anything.
No, man, no. So I came here, and this is where I met my wife.
Okay.
So I met her, and
how old were you at this point?
I met her, I was 21.
Okay.
Yeah, because we got married, I was 22. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And married ever since. Still carrying that ball and chain.
Short engagement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Short engagement. And then shortly afterwards, I think we was married probably 3 months, and then I had another tour back in Okinawa. This time I was at Camp Foster, which is down south, which is where everybody wants to be because it's relatively close to the Air Force Base.
Okay.
So now you're more it's like in the city, more or less.
Okay.
And then my wife actually came over. Maybe 3 months after I had gotten there.
What?
Unannounced. Because if you're bringing your spouse, you're normally supposed to stay. It's supposed to be like 3 years.
Oh, okay.
She just came unannounced. I called one Saturday morning, to my in-laws, and I said, "Let me speak to Dee." And my mother-in-law said, "She hasn't made it there yet?" I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" "She left yesterday." I said, "Oh, Lord." So, long story short, I finally found out when she was arriving, and then they had to go to Naha and pick her up. So the only place we could stay is Kui Lodge. Kui Lodge is for military families.
Okay.
And it's a temporary. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to break it down to my company commander that my wife came over unexpected. Because now I needed to get approved for assisted living off base.
Yeah.
And all of that, so I had to get an apartment, and we had to get furniture, and it was a hassle, but it was cool. It was cool.
So she stayed out there the rest of the time you were there in Okinawa?
Yeah. And then she was pregnant with our oldest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And she flew home because once you get a certain size, they won't allow you to fly.
Yeah.
So she came home, I think she got home a month before I arrived.
Okay.
Yeah, and but she didn't have the baby until after I got here, which was in August. I got home in July,
Okay.
And she had the baby in August. So,
Whew.
yeah, man.
Then what happened?
Oh man, it's just been one day at a time since then, you know.
When did you get out of the service?
Actually, I got out shortly after my youngest daughter was born. She was born in '86.
Okay.
Actually, I got out before she was born because I got out in April of '86. She was born in October of '86.
Okay.
You know, and then I was. Like I said, I had taken some courses, college courses, and I was actually enrolled in Long Beach.
State?
Yeah, Long Beach
Okay.
State. And the recruiter from Dunley, which is where I did my apprenticeship, was recruiting, and they was actually looking for military people because they know they are accustomed to working long hours, you know, and things like that. So. And it's mandatory 6 work days for the printing company. So, you know, they sold me on the apprenticeship program. So I checked out of Long Beach and I started working for Dunley, and I did my apprenticeship for 3.5 years.
So for those of us that don't know, what is Donnelly? There's a printing company, but what do they print?
Oh, they print every magazine that you can think of. U.S. News, People, Time, Sports Illustrated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so every magazine, every top-notch magazine, that's what we did. We printed it. Yeah.
And how many like copies are printed like in 10 minutes? Let's say?
Oh, well, depending on which machine you was on, like, and for instance, a 8-sig magazine, you could probably run upwards of 12,500 to 15,000 in an hour.
Wow.
I did my apprenticeship, and then I wanted to move to Orange County. So we moved to Orange County, the family did, and then that's when I started working for TDK. So I worked for them for 9 years. I was finally exposed to robotics, and those were the type of things that I've been looking forward to, you know. And after, I would say during my 8.5 year, I was doing the budget for the maintenance department, and I saw nothing but zeros on my budget. I was like, why is everything zero? So I went to my engineering manager, which was Mike Watanabe, and I asked Mike, I said, hey, Mike, how come the budget isn't set yet? No budget. He said, no, I said, no budget. He said, no budget. I said, for the entire year? No budget. So I saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
I said, okay, no budget? Well, that means we're going to be closing the doors here pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So they had a job fair at the Pond or Honda Center. And for the remainder of the day, I just updated my resume on my floppy disk and printed out some copies. And I dropped them off on the way home. I had like 5 messages when I got home, and one of them was 3M. And I called back, and Greg Leto was the supervisor here. So they sent me to the office to do a urinalysis and all of that stuff for background, but it was through that temp agency. You know, it's temp to hire. So once we got all of that cleared, you know, I'm in here working. 3M has a hiring freeze. They lay off like 5,000 engineers throughout all 3M. So they weren't hiring anyone, you know. I was just like, man, my timing couldn't be any worse. But after a year and a half, the hiring freeze was lifted. And, you know, I came aboard, and I've been here ever since.
And how long ago was that?
Yeah, that was in 97.
97. Okay, so now if I can get all this correct now, how old were you? What year was it when you were 16?
Oh, man. So 16, that was 78, 79? Somewhere like
78,
that.
79. So the advice your dad gave you in 78 or 79 about skills that you were going to have to fall back on has kept you up and kept you working ever since.
Absolutely.
Wow. And you didn't want to hear it then?
I surely didn't. I laugh at my youngest daughter. She said, "Oh, Dad, you know, I used to tell them about baseball," and she said, "Wow, could you imagine if you'd have played professional baseball? Oh, Dad, we'd be rich." I said, "You wouldn't even know me."
Right?
I said, "It'd been a different path." I said, "You wouldn't even know me," you know?
Yeah.
You know, I played against Sean Rooks, Joey Johnson, which is Craig Johnson, or Dennis Johnson used to play for the Boston Celtics. That's his brother.
Okay.
A couple of guys from Long Beach State. I can't think of their name right now. They were brothers too that ended up playing overseas. Oh man, I played with, and what's that knucklehead? Ball, Lonzo. Well, LeVar Ball. His son plays for the Lakers.
Oh, that guy that was on the news
That's
running his mouth?
Yes, he's one of them. Yeah, I played with him at Los Caballeros.
Okay.
I played with a lot of gentlemen from that didn't make it, that had tryouts and you know, and played summer league. But they ended up having to go overseas. Some real high flyers, man. Some real talented guys. And you know, it's just competition, and that's what you want. You want the best.
Yeah.
It brings out the best in you. So. Yeah.
And then when did you get into playing golf?
Well, I got into playing golf because I was too old to do anything else. Well, I had to, you know, once, you know, Father Time is undefeated. I tell that to everyone. You know, there's gonna come a time where your mind's gonna say, move and do this, but your body's not gonna respond to it. So you got to find a different sport. But the first time I played golf, as actually my first tour overseas, we had been working 12-hour shifts for like 6 months, 7 days a week.
Oh, wow.
And there was this tournament. It was a benefit for the youth in Okinawa. And anyone that wanted to participate could. It was just a way to break up the monotony, so a lot of us signed up just to, and even though we never played, to just go out there and just to do something other than work. And that was the first time, and I said, I like this. That was my first taste of it. And I think when I was with TDK is when I really started. My wife bought me my first set of clubs, and that was 1990, maybe 4.
Okay.
She bought me my first set of clubs, and with this big old bag, man. I don't know where she got that bag from. That bag was huge. It was a cart, so it's a cart bag, you know. So,
Oh, okay.
you know, so, but that was my first set. And once I, you know, started playing and doing a lot of reading and working on my game on my own, I said, well, let me find me some clubs. And I finally went got fitted. And then I, instead of playing just any off-brand that, I, started getting into the tailor-made and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is what I still play today, tailor-made. Well, by the grace of God, if He allows me to retire here, I want to work for another maybe 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And at that point, I would like to actually leave California and go back home, go back to Texas, where the rest of my siblings are. And I think there's a better way of life there. Instead of hearing this rat race in California, man, it just seemed like each and every day there's more people here.
Now I know, to get on a deeper subject, we've talked about racism that you've experienced in your lifetime, and we've had conversations about. You've talked to me about how different people are in California as opposed to on the East Coast or even Texas. Now tell me about open racism. What does that mean to you? Or you tell me what
Me personally, those are the type people that I like dealing with, because I know exactly where they stand. And when you hear people say, we don't want your kind in here, we don't want your kind around here, we don't serve your kind, at least I know. It's just the ones that smile in your face and steady undermining you the entire time. Those are the ones that are the most dangerous in my book. That song, smile in your face and stab you in the back. Yeah.
What do you think is going to help remedy that, help change the way culture sees each other? What is going to take away the fear of a different culture?
I would think if everyone was more into the loving side, I would say if everyone was into God and understanding and trying to understand what it is to give oneself and try to understand or put yourself in those other individuals' shoes, I think that's where we need to go. It's just too many individuals that's all about me, and what can I accomplish or what can I get from this? Not in it to try to help or serve others.
So we're kind of like wrapped up in our own little universe, each individual person, and then, to be honest, technology isn't helping in that way, because we all
it's making it easier to be more isolated. Yeah, the way things are today.
And it's almost like a pacifier in your isolation, right? I mean, I got my iPhone, and you're a stranger, and we're sitting on the bus bench together, and instead of striking up a conversation, it's really easy for me to pull out my phone and kind of.
I laughed at you that day we were in the lunchroom. You said, "You hear that?" And I said, "No, what are you talking about?" He said, "Exactly. All these people in here and no one's talking. Everybody's on their phone." And then that's when I looked around like, wow. And everybody was doing their own thing. Just, we had lunch about an hour ago. We sat there, and TV and Kevin never said a word. They sitting there doing the same thing, and them two sitting at the table.
And they're playing in the same game, right? Yeah, yeah.
I'm just like, wow. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. So we get this false sense that we're hanging out, but right? But we don't even know what we're thinking or what we're doing, you know?
Yeah, that's, you couldn't have said it any better. This false sense that we're hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then that's why, you know, I wanted to interview you and stuff, because we still have genuine conversations that really touch on social issues, and you know, and not only that, but we like to tell stories about our life and get to know each other on a more personal level, and I think shared stories help. Not only just it helps me to shape and sharpen iron, as the Bible says, you know.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I think I read somewhere in a book one time, it said that men are formed by other men.
Yes.
You know, and just like, you know, when you were 16, you didn't want to hear what your dad had to say. Sometimes there's things, you know, even as a 38-year-old man, I don't even want to hear my dad say, you know. But if I sit back long enough and meditate on those things, they really do have power to shape and guide my life, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you hear that phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, it does. It takes everyone to interact. You know, keep those kids on the straight and narrow. Because growing up in our community, you know, before schools were integrated, we had Miss Jones, Mrs. Thomas, Miss Francis. And Miss Jones was, I used to swear she was the meanest old lady. She was a teacher too, strict. And she would tear our behinds up if we got out of line. And then tell our parents, man, so we got it twice. But those are the type things, you know, you hear people talk about, oh, you can't talk to my kid like that and do this. It's better that someone in the community that knows the family is intervening right now before the police.
Yes.
At that point, it's too late. So you need to curtail that dumb stuff right now. And those were the type things that Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Francis, that's what they used to do.
Yeah.
Mrs. Thomas, you know.
And so your parents, instead of saying, who hit you? Or who told you what?
No.
Oh, let me go give them a piece of my mind. They said, oh, no. You're going to get it again.
Because, you know, Mrs. like they would whip us, and then take us to, come on, let's go home, let's go to your house. Like, oh Lord Jesus, no.
So you said this was before integration. Now explain to people what that means.
Oh, so I, you know, and people, they laugh at me when I tell them this. I said I was in the 3rd grade before I saw a real white person. And, you know, I used to see black and white. We only had a black and white TV. So I see a TV and see white and black, and that was it. And the community, we had our community store, all black. Our schools, all black. We didn't have to go anywhere. Everything was there. And then once integration came, I think with 1970, maybe 73. I think, 72, 73. And they bust us in. And all them little white kids was out there watching the bus come in like, wow. And all the black kids on the bus like, wow, white. And it was really funny because, I mean, we were athletic as hell back then. You know? I mean, it's just the way it is. We've always been athletic. So when recess came, The little white kid said, "We're gonna be home, so y'all go home and kick. We go into the field. We playing kickball. If you can kick it to the street, that's a home run, you know." And all of us was like, "That's it," because they couldn't get it there. Everyone on our team could kick it to the street. Boom. Well, for the whole recess, they never got in. They was out there chasing balls the whole day. And so this went on. Then we played football at lunch. Same thing. Because the white kids said, "Us against you guys." This went on for a week. Then they said, "Hey, we're going to have to mix this up. We got to mix this up."
Yeah.
And we used to laugh. Why? We like it the way it is. Because they weren't winning at no matter what we played. They weren't winning. You know. And then they took integration a step further. They actually, because everybody that came into Joe Wright Elementary. So then they actually broke the schools down even further and put some at East Side, some at West Side, African Americans at West Side, and I didn't really dig that because no one lived, as far as blacks, no one lived nowhere near the East Side. So why are we going way over there?
Yeah.
You know?
Now, and this is kind of a weird question, but why do you believe they initially wanted to integrate the schools?
Well, that was part of the movement as far as trying to get the equal rights for the blacks.
Okay.
You know, so it was something that Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X them and Medgar Evers and all those guys were something that they were fighting for, you know, and it was the darndest thing because even though there was no slavery in the 70s, when late 60s, 70s, people were still treated less than, and that caused a big problem. It's just like Carlos in the '68 Olympics when they had the Black Power sign when they was on the podium for the Olympics when they won the medals. There was still a lot of inequality. They weren't. Blacks just weren't being treated the same or fair. And I was, the same thing. When I mentioned to to Terry them the other day, last week or so. I said, you know what's the travesty? The travesty is it's been over 50 years and we still doing the same thing to try to bring awareness to the inequality that we have in this country. That's the travesty. You talk about not kneeling, kneeling for the national anthem. No, they're not kneeling for the national anthem or disrespecting the flag. They're trying to bring awareness, and these people are just trying to turn it into something different. I think the majority of the people that wants to take that stand and attack the players in the NFL for their right is just because these are the same people that are saying, you've come far enough. Be happy with the gains that you've made and let's move on. That's what I feel is going on. They feel you've come far enough. Hey, and that's where I think we are. The people they're not that naive to be saying that we're taking a knee for this, because if they didn't take a knee, let's say everybody stayed in the locker room. It still would be an issue.
Yeah.
So that's a bunch of BS.
So, I mean, I've had some weird views on these things because I see, professional sports today as something that's reckoned to even slavery way back when. You know what I mean? Because I think that we're just paying people to perform. You know what I mean? These men obviously have skill, they have a love for the game and whatnot, but do you think it would be better for them if they were to break off from the NFL, let's just say, all the athletes, and make their own league where they can actually make the money that the owners are making today? Because the owners are the ones getting rich, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you could see that this guy's got a big contract, but the owners are ultimately the ones going home with all the money.
Now, we're going to go back to LeVar Ball, son that plays for the Lakers. He's the one that started this other league. So you're not far-fetched from his way of thinking.
Yeah.
He said, you know what? If y'all want to blackball my boys and this and that, because what the NBA has done, at 16, if my father signed for me to join the military, I can go die in Afghanistan. But you trying to tell me at 16 or 17 years old, I'm 6'10", I got skills to play with these grown men in the NBA, that I can't make a living. Because these white men said he's not ready to be making those millions of dollars. He can't handle it. But who are they to say whether or not I'm ready to become a millionaire at 17 or 16? But I can go die for this country. I can go over here and die for this man to sit here, this owner to sit here and make billions of dollars. But yet, I'm not old enough to be a millionaire in his eye. See, that's what I'm saying. That's where all these double standards come in.
Yeah.
You know, people like Tony Parker that played for the San Antonio Spurs. Tony Parker was a professional basketball player in France at 14. They didn't hinder him.
Yeah.
So why is it that we do it? That's why LeVar Ball is doing the thing he's doing, because he's going to bridge that gap between these 16-year-olds and having to be 20 or 1 year removed from high school or college. So so he's the one that's initiating the new movement.
Yeah.
So I feel that there's too many double standards here, and it's directed at black athletes.
Yeah, because if they weren't on TV, I mean, we'd be stuck watching college football with a bunch of people that can't play kickball.
Yeah.
We got to have some of you guys on our team.
Yeah. Gotta mix it up.
You got to mix it up. We had gotten cut off, and we were in the middle of a good story, and we don't want to miss out on this story. So, tell us what happened the day that you were harassed by the cops.
Oh, okay. That was the time 3 of my buddies and myself, we were headed down to my wife's parents' house. And we had just gotten off the 91 freeway. And as soon as we took that ride, the sheriff threw the lights on us with the helicopter flying around. And we was like, what the heck do we do? And the sheriff said someone just broken into a warehouse down the street. I said, well, it couldn't have been us. We just got off the freeway. And we all dressed, Stacy's, slacks, silk. I had a silk shirt on, monogram, initials, clean, going to see my girl, And as they told us to get out of the vehicle, one by one, they had already gotten my buddy out, you know, and they told him to lay on the ground, on the concrete. And he laid down, and I'm just saying to myself, I'm not laying down. But then he told me, he said, lay on the ground. I said, man, I'm not laying on the ground. I said, I got a silk shirt on. If I lay down on this concrete, it's gonna put a run in it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to hear that. He said, either you lay down or I'm gonna put you down. At that point, I went from 11 to 15. Because I said, hey man, I said, I'm a United States Marine. And I promise you my training is a lot better than the training you got. So if you think you're gonna put me down, have at it. And then his buddy de-escalated the event by saying, okay, just sit on the curb. Sit right here. Okay, I'll sit, but I'm not laying down. And how crazy could it be for them to think, in my book, it was nothing more than racial profiling. And then I doubted 100% that anybody had broken into any warehouse.
Yeah.
It was just an idea. 4 African Americans. It's been going on. 4 African Americans, in a vehicle. They want to see if we got any drugs or any weapons or anything. It's just in the wrong place, wrong time. So after that, they searched the vehicle, which is all they wanted to do in the first place, and we were on our way. So nothing's really changed.
No ticket.
Not one citation.
You told me another story one time about that racism you encountered at work, a place of business.
Oh man, I was actually suspended because there was only 2 African Americans, Mike Brewer and myself, that worked at the floppy disk division. And Mike was out in the parking lot about 12 at night drinking beer with the lot inspector from certification.
Okay.
And there was only 2 leads on duty, and that was myself and David Holden. The lot inspector belongs to David Holden.
Yeah.
So if somebody's missing, it should be the lead of that department that know his people are missing.
Yeah.
Mike Brewer didn't work for me. He was, even though I was a lead for the MCATs, Mike worked in a burnishing department.
Okay.
Which was next to certification. And they had the nerve to suspend me and tell me, you can't tell me you didn't know your buddy was out there drinking. I said, you the only 2 African Americans here.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me. I'm just like, but that's some racist stuff.
Now, there's 2 stories that stand out in my mind. One was the I don't know who he was that came over from Japan to work on the machine.
Oh, Mr. Ide.
Yeah. Tell us about that story.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Ide, he was just he was a mechanic.
Okay.
From TDK, Japan, but they're schooling. They're actually engineers.
Okay.
We had a spring section issue one day. He worked on the spring section all day long, 12 hours. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, wow, I can see the problem. And he worked on it. He'd go smoke a cigarette, come back, and he'd work on it. And it was running like crap. He'd run 3 or 4, then it'd jam. He'd run 3 or 4, then jam. He said, okay, I'll continue tomorrow. What? Yeah, okay. Ah, man. So I said, okay. That's how they want to leave it. Because, it was about 6 engineers that was here at the time. I go home. I get off at 6:30. I go home. They calling me at 6:45, 7 o'clock. Hey, DeWayne, we can't run, man. We can't run like this. You know, it's jamming up almost every time, man. The spring is deformed. I said, okay, I'll be back. So I got back. I went back in there about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I looked at it, took my measurements. I changed the quill body after I filed it down, and I changed the feed rollers. And I had a perfect spring that was consistent with the angle that I needed and the dimensions of the legs and the feet. And about 10 o'clock, off to the races. It's running. Bam, bam. If you saw the numbers, we was making something like 1,500, 800 an hour up until that point. And after that, we was off running 10 and 12,000
an hour.
And then, so I went home probably by midnight.
Okay.
Got back about 5:45 that morning. Oh my God, Dwayne, it's been kicking butt. The machine has been kicking butt, man. It hasn't stopped. And I looked at the dimensions, make sure everything was staying consistent, and it was on my optical comparator. And he comes in at 8 o'clock. He stands outside the clean room and he's looking at the machine, and they humming, blink, 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 and he just like, he actually got pissed. He actually goes and gowns up, comes in there, stops the machine, and said, "Who worked on it?" I said, they had problems last night and they called me, and I came back and I changed the quill body and the feed rollers and got it within spec. No good. He said, no good. Go get Ken Shima. I said, what do you mean, no good? You no good. All Americans no good. I said, since I'm no good, you want Ken Shima? You go get him. Miguel said, I'll go get him. So Miguel goes get Ken Shima. He was, Ide in Japanese was going off on Ken. And Ken, okay. So to lessen it, Ken said, hey, let's go to the warehouse. Go outside instead of all these people seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
So he goes out, we go out. So we're in the warehouse. I'm really getting upset because I'm watching this supervisor let this engineer chew him out. And Ken says to me, Dwayne, what happened? I said, I wish you'd asked that before you come in here and let him do all that yelling.
Yeah.
I said, told him what happened, how I went home, how I was called back, came in, took care of the problem, and the machine has been running good ever since. And then Ken speaks in Japanese to Ide. Ide still yelling, I'm like biting his head off. And then he says again to Kenshima, you, all Americans are no good. And at that point, I said, F you. I said, you ain't gonna come over here, not in my country, and tell me I'm no good.
Yeah.
I said, you're no good. I said, you was in here, you worked 12 hours on that spring section, and you couldn't fix it. No. I said, you're right, you didn't fix it. I said, you went home because you gave up. They called me, I came back, I fixed the machine. Now you upset?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Americans is good, you know? And then he was going off, and then in come my manager, which is Watanabe, which is over him. Watanabe comes, he hear all this commotion, so he comes in, what's wrong? And then he starts yelling at Watanabe, blah, 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 blah. Watanabe just did like that. Yo. And then he's talked to Ken, and Ken told him exactly what I had said. He told Ide, go to my office. And we never saw him again. They shipped his behind back to Japan, and I said, we don't need him. And we didn't. And because they had 2 MCATS lines, we had 2 MCATS lines. And every day you look at the results, we were kicking their butts.
Yeah.
Japan butts. I said, hey, you might want to call E-Day and see if he needs some help over there.
I need a vacation in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was, come over here thinking he can tell America's all no good.
No good. That's one of my favorites. Okay, so now, a little change of a subject, but I want you to tell everybody the story about Terry.
Charlie Hall gave us a pony. Mm-hmm. He was blinded in one eye, you know.
The pony or Mr. Hall?
No, the pony.
Okay.
And his name was Terry, but he was a shelling pony. He was smaller than most ponies, but he was faster than any pony around. But Terry had a mean streak in it, you know. Yeah. You running Terry, and when Terry got tired, he'd just cut on you. And he'd run you under tree limbs and everything to get you off of him. And one day we were out playing basketball outside, and my brother was riding Terry. And then all of a sudden, we see the horse come to the fence in front of the house without the rider, without my brother. And, you know, so the horse is just moseying around, you know, waiting. And then here comes my brother up the road. He crying, he bleeding all over the head and all on his arm, just hollering. I'm just like, what the heck happened to him? And then I put two and two together. He went in the house, he grabbed the broom. He had that big broom, the big heavy duty broom.
Okay. And
he got the hand saw. He's sawing the handle. And instead of moaning, he went out and he grabbed Terry by the bridle and he hit that pony right across the snout. And that horse fell like bam. Didn't even move, just straight out. I said, boy, he done killed that horse. And we all went over, and that horse was just laying. I was like, wow. And then all of a sudden, the horse come to and took off in a dead sprint. We didn't see the horse for 3 days. That horse was gone, man.
Now, speaking of knocked out, let's segue to that young lady that you met on the bus that one day.
Oh, ain't no young lady.
She may be out there somewhere.
Yeah, that was Phoebe Lacey. You know, because, you know, we was in junior high.
Okay.
And George Black was which is Michael Smith's stepfather. George Black was the bus driver. And George had got there early, so I got on and I put my books on because everybody likes to be in the back.
Okay.
On the back seat. They can mess with other people out the window. So I put my books on the back and I got back off the bus and messed around. You know, because still got about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Messing around. I get back on the bus, you know, I see, well, all the people in the back, because I know I put my books, man. So I get to where the hump is, where the wheel, over the wheel.
Okay.
Then my book, that's where my books are, in that seat. I know where I left them.
Yeah.
So I go back there and Phoebe Lacey's sitting in my seat.
Yeah.
And Phoebe Lacey had some glasses about that freaking thick.
Okay.
She had about that much hair. But she was muscular.
Okay.
And when I got to my seat, before I could say one word, she sucker punched me in the solar plex. She knocked me out of wind. And then when I fell, she jumped on me and commenced to beat. It was like I stole something from her, and she in my seat. And man, and she was just pounding away, but I couldn't breathe. I didn't feel the punches. I was just trying to catch my wind.
Yeah.
I caught my wind. I flipped her behind over, and I was getting ready to commence beating the crap out of her. George Black grabbed me, picked me up, and he set me on the front seat of the bus. He said, "You sit right here."
Yeah.
I said, "She took my seat. You saw me, Mr. Black. I was the first one on the bus." I said, "You gonna sit right here?" I just like, wow. That was my first taste of injustice.
You said a while back that your mother had passed away when you were 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, you were angry towards the good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Well, like I told you, my father being a minister. So, growing up, in the church and everything. And, you hear all the old sayings. The good Lord will never put more on you than you can bear. And anything you need, ask and he will provide.
Mm-hmm.
But, when my mom was first diagnosed with cancer, and the cancer units, the best ones were in Houston. So she went down, and so they, took out her breast and much cancer as they could. And so, during all the chemo, she lost her hair, so she was bald head and everything. And so when she came home, we was under the impression that, it was just going to be time, but in about, let's say, I would have to say 3 months, she was back down there again. And then that's where she passed away.
Mm.
And my younger sister was down that weekend watching us because my dad was down there with my mom, at the hospital. And I would have to say Saturday morning, it was a Saturday morning, roughly maybe 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. We just heard the phone ring. And anytime you hear the phone ring at that time, that's why I hate getting phone calls in the morning, early in the morning.
Yeah.
I already knew what that phone call entailed,
Mm.
And, I just heard my sister start crying. And I was just like, so I just took off walking. And next thing I knew, I was just walking. I was on the 175 on the highway, just walking. Sun done come up,
Wow.
And I would have to say, because, we all pray for our mom. But I would have to say I was bitter and, saying that, man, there ain't no God,
Mm.
Just, I was probably like that for maybe 3 or 4 years, And from that point on, I saw a lot of people have loved ones that died, and I guess I just grew up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was really upset because I felt that was the best person that I knew.
Yeah.
And for him to take her from us, I had my two younger brothers.
Yeah.
So I used to think that was just a bad situation.
Yeah, that he had done you dirty in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had mentioned, I had asked you a while back, when you kind of got your faith back, and you had mentioned that going to the military had a lot to do with that.
Yes, it did. In the military, they have Catholic service,
Okay.
and Protestant. Protestant is just anything that's not Catholic. That's how they group them together.
Okay.
And I was a lay leader. And that's actually when I came back, I started gaining my faith back.
Okay.
Because the lay leaders, their job, not on Sunday when we was on base and stuff to go to church, but in the field.
Mm.
When we out in the field, you have people that have issues, and that's where we came in, and I actually think that's when I really got it back, especially in Japan. When I was in Japan, And then, especially seeing how people live, like in the Philippines, in Kenya, you know, it was really some bad places. You know, every place in this world, you know, you have your ghettos.
Yeah.
And it's just there are some that are really worse than others.
Yeah.
And Philippines was one of them. You know. Was that Edward?
Edward Darling 407, which means we got to go back to work. Which, you know, what we do is top secret, so we don't tell anybody.
It'd be like Karl Malone.
It ain't good for nobody if aliens go up Karl Malone butt. All right.